Hello everybody, this is Maniac for Bricks, and I am here today with set number 7956, Ewok Attack. This is the 2011 version of Ewok Attack, because there is one from 2002, but they are different models. This is a Star Wars set from 2011, as mentioned. It has 166 pieces, 3 minifigures, ages 7 to 12, and this originally retailed for $25. Let's take a closer look at the set now, starting with our instructions. Which means we'll have to push all this out of the way. I know I don't have the box here to show you, but it was a relatively large box. Something similar to the size of $20 boxes that you see nowadays for Lego sets. Possibly a little larger than that, just to accompany for some of the pieces. But a decent looking box. It showed most of the features of the set the same way it shows it on the instructions. By the background you can tell, and by the set's composition, you can also tell that this set is from Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, and features some of our favorite Ewok characters from the Forest Moon of Endor. It's a hefty little instruction book, and has a lot of steps to building the tree, with the main model of the set. It mostly is a sturdy model when you're trying to build it, but it just has a lot of interesting slopes and roof pieces that might make it a little bit more, might take a little bit more time when trying to find out where the pieces are. And there is a look at the piece count, page 1, piece count, page 2. Then we have some of the other sets from 2011. I kind of wish I had that one. And it also shows you some of the features of the tree, of which there are several. They also have the Lego Club in the back, and the Wind Kid on the back. Let's take a closer look at our minifigs. The first two minifigures in this set are Tokat, which is on the left, and Logray, which is on the right. I don't remember exactly their roles in terms of what the Ewok tribes did in the movie, as well as remembering their names. I remember mostly Wicked, a distinct Ewok character from the Star Wars film. But as far as these two, I don't really know what they did in the movie. I just saw that there were tons of them all around in the Battle of Endor. But it seems to me that this one is something of a chief, just by the way he's dressed. He has that little knapsack on him. He has more of like a headdress that's printed on him. And may I mention that the heads are printed. And really well done, actually. A lot of detail and a lot of sculpting detail even really put into these two figures and put into a lot of the Ewoks from this time period. I really appreciate how Lego does, some really nice job. Even getting all the texture for their fur is really fascinating. I'll take off the weapons for either of these, for both of these actually. You can see that they are two different colors. And the headpieces are mainly covering their bodies as well. So underneath them, there's really some plain torsos. And you do get some nice short legs. So as far as the headpiece itself, it just slips on top. And it doesn't have any real interference with the figures when it's put on there. They still have a good amount of articulation for their arms. Not the full articulation for a minifig, but still enough that you can move them around, get them into different poses. And as you can see, their weapons are as follows: the spear and a set of bow and arrow. Very nice Ewok figures. Probably one of my favorites, because the ones they originally designed in 2002, which I could probably compare at a later time, really didn't have a lot of color to them. Although they had some good sculpting, they didn't have a lot of color, and they're pretty much the same, but different colors between the two Ewok figs. These are at least more distinctive and very well done, very lifelike. The third figure you get in this set is a Scout Biker. There's really not much to say for this figure, since we've had him many times since the 1990s, when LEGO Star Wars was first made. He pretty much has the same exact torso, printing, and even the helmet is relatively the same mold as it was in the early days. Nothing really to see underneath, because his head is black and black all around. The reason why it's all the way around black is because it allows the eyes, or sort of, I guess, visor, to work through the head as a way of seeing, like, it gives itself a little bit of depth with the visor so that the eyes would be blocked from the outside. It's kind of like the original version of Boba Fett, and even earlier versions of the Scout Trooper itself. So they don't really have any heads that have faces on them. They're just designed as kind of part of the mask. So here we have a look at the speeder bike that the Scout biker rides on. And it's a pretty nice design. I actually like the way that these modern bikes are made in comparison to the ones first released in 1999. The evolution between them has really improved over time and given a little bit more movie-accurate details all the way across. It seems slick, it seems fast, it has the ideas, for the speeder bike that it needs, and gives it a little bit of play features, but there's really nothing to play with here except for swooshing it around. The only real playability that you get is that you can position these landing gear pieces, but they don't move too very far. You can also move the arms on this section so that you can have him really focused and fast looking and maybe a little bit intimidating. You could also put both hands on there if you wanted to, but since he has the pistol, I put it in for one of his hands. You also have the backpack on the back, and you could always attach that to the Biker Scout, or you can take it off if he needs to grab some extra materials. Nothing actually included inside of the backpack. The design for these is really interesting because this part is kind of interesting how that's attached onto here, but in case you never knew, this whole back part, which makes up a good amount of detail for the speeder bike, used to be used for 3-wheeled trikes back in Lego City and Lego Town. Now, the problem with that piece is that you can't really use it outside of this set anymore for the 3-wheel trike. The 3-wheel trike has long been discontinued from Lego City and Lego Town, so in terms of using this piece, you can't really find the other counterpart that would make it a workable vehicle. The only way now you could use it is through the speeder bike. But it still presents a neat design, and I like how it's used here. It's just, if you want to use this for anything else, that is the only part that you'd have a problem with. I'd also like to compare this with another speeder bike from set number 9489. This is the Endor Rebel Trooper and Imperial Trooper Battle Pack at a later time released. And they are almost identical in terms of design and the same pieces built. There's only a little bit of difference between them in that the exhaust is moved to a different side, the backpack portion is a little bit shorter, and that there is a little bit less detail on the bottom because it's not really needed. But they still pull off the design and functionality of the vehicle really well, and even side by side they still look pretty cool. The last part we have to the set, the main model, which is a giant tree. It almost looks like a tree house, the way that it has a platform on the top for the Ewoks. And it's actually a really nice build. Despite what I said earlier, as far as all the different slopes that are used, that's kind of a disadvantage for building this, because there's a lot of them they have to look through, but it is an impressive design for a tree, and I am a fan of a lot of Lego tree sets, or sets with trees in them. So this one is probably one of my favorites in that sense. Just a lot of interesting detail to make it look, like all different roots and different plants and leaves are growing off of this tree and really bring this thing to life as if you're in the forest moon of Endor. So we have several features with this set. First one I'll mention, we have the small ladder that leads you up to the top where you're right away guarded by this catapult. Kind of not the best placement if you're trying to walk the figures around, but it's a small top, so I think it still works okay. But you still have that ladder. You can use the catapult and swing it around in any direction. It does turn 360 degrees if the Ewok wasn't there. You have 3 small rocks included with the set, so you can put them in there and easily fire them. They're easy to work with, and They're a nice little play feature if you have anything in the air to shoot down, or if you want to just try to shoot it across to something far away. Next feature you have on the top layer, you have this small branch, and it looks like something sticking out from the side of it. Well, just like in the movie, this has a feature in which you can drop logs onto some, Imperial troops. You just simply lift this lever, and the logs fall out. Now, there's a small 2 slopes underneath that allow it to roll out, and there's also a few plates under here that keep it in place, so it doesn't fall out on its own. And you can change a little bit of how it falls out just by how you let go of it. If you give it a little bit more force, it might fall out a little bit faster or a little bit further. That's all for the top portion, but we still have more features on this tree. First one, you see this little log that's sticking out from the sides. You can push this to either side and keep it in that position. This is the part in the movie where you could either, one or two options. You could have this pop out as a speeder bike passes, and you could just knock the speeder bike driver off. If you give a good ramming in the set, you definitely could do that and destroy the bike. Or, if you have 2 of these sets, you could have 2 of them swinging in on each other and try to crush them in the middle. It's also a really satisfying kind of play feature, so you could really do a lot of damage to this biker scout. And the fourth feature we have in the set is this little hideaway that opens up on 2 hinges. This opens up entirely to this side, so you have a little bit more access for the tree. And there are 2 things you can do inside of here. First one, you can place a small Ewok inside and maybe give him like a little jump out and attack or ambush a stormtrooper, or in this case a biker scout. But you also have this flick fire missile in here. You can also see from the inside how the log is placed, so it fits between those tiles. And from this side, you can see the little pointed part. It actually blends in with the tree very well, so it almost disguises it from the outside. And you can just tap that to make it shoot out. Depending on how much force you give it, it might go a little bit or it might go pretty far like it did now. This is an excellent play set. I really enjoy this with all the different features it offers in such a small space. And it's something that it makes me want to, with the size of a tree and all the different features on it for what the Ewoks can do, it almost makes me want to have more of the trees. It's really nice if you could have a whole bunch of these set up in a Battle of Endor and just place them around different areas, have different Ewoks controlling them, so you could have all these little surprises for the Imperial troopers. There are only 2 problems that I have with this set, and they are with some of the last features we mentioned. When you open this part up and you want to put an Ewok in there, it is a little bit difficult to fit them in with the accessory. It doesn't entirely close all the way if they're holding something in their hand. You can see how it opens up a little bit on the side. And the second part, it has to do with the... Why is this not coming out all the way? Oh, if this won't pop out all the way if you have part of the log sticking out. It's not exactly a fault, it's just something you need to remember when playing with the set. The second part is that it's hard to reach this flick fire missile. I know LEGO loves to put these in sets, and it's a neat little camouflage way to do it in this one. But it is very hard to get your finger in here to actually push it. Some people push it this way, but I traditionally like to keep my finger bent back to give it a little bit more force and give it a really good push forward. In that way, it makes it hard for me, plus my big fingers, since I'm not a little kid playing with this set. I'm 19. It makes it harder for my bigger fingers to actually hit the flick fire missile because of the tree branches in the way. Although, it's probably doable for younger kids if they are, have smaller fingers, they can fit their hands in there. So, very well built set. Really nice all the way around. And nice movie accurate traps for the Imperial troops. So thanks for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time with more LEGO set reviews.